In other words, conversations with poets, writers, and authors discussing their lives outside of writing. Here are your hosts, James Bryant and Lee Eric Freedman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Other Words, the program where we learn all about our favorite writers, poets, and authors outside of their writing life. My name is James Bryant. Alongside me, my wonderful dude co-host, Lee Eric Freedman. Hello, Lee.
Hi, James. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let
Good.
us both say hello to the gentleman in the hot seat today, and that would be Timothy Gager. Hello, Timothy.
Hey
Hey,
James, hi Lee, how you guys doing?
Good.
We're
Good.
doing great. You have read for Spellfest, and it's been a while since we had the pleasure of your company. So I thought, hey, let's do that in the form of In Other Words. So got great topic to delve into. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Before we get into that, though, let's learn about Timothy Gager as an author. And with that, we turn it over to Lee.
Thanks, James. This is episode 31. So, welcome, Timothy. Timothy Gager has published 18 books of fiction and poetry. He's had over 1,000 pieces of fiction, microfiction, and poetry published, including 17 nominated for Pushcart Prizes. His work has also been twice nominated for a Massachusetts Book Award, the Best of the Web, the Best Small Fictions Anthology, and has also been read on NPR. Tim's last book of poetry, his last novel, and 2023's Best of Timothy Gager, which is an anthology of 20 years of his work, were all #1 bestsellers on Amazon. Now, that's all about the author Timothy Gager. Let's learn about Timothy Gager in other words.
That's a lot of writing. I wonder if you have ever had any time for yourself, Timothy.
This is it. I'm taking time for myself right now.
Okay, good deal. Um, okay, let's get right into it here. So, Timothy, you are a feeder of feral cats. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, this is the scary part of the show. So feral cats, about 10 years ago, there was this snowstorm and this really, really emaciated cat. And my friend was like, I'm gonna feed it. I'm like, no, don't you dare. It's just gonna keep coming back. Because obviously, that's what happens with strays. And so we started feeding it anyway, and there was a group of 5 of them. And we've housed, since then, in 10 years, we've housed 3 of them. There's still 2 that are hang around, and boy, do they hang around my house. And they're sisters. But one of them actually in the past week got an injury, and we couldn't capture for a vet. So animal control came, and what animal control is planning to do is do a 4-month quarantine for rabies, and which would be at the Animal Rescue League. And they have some pretty posh conditions for these strays. And so this will actually keep this cat indoors for the winter, but it will come out box trained. And my plan is to have the cat move in with me indoors for the first time, because it's very socialized. They're kind of my cats, but I noticed that since the cats have a relationship with me now, some of my neighbors in the complex are now feeding the cats too. The cats are very, very well fed. They eat better than I do.
That's good.
Why? Why feral cats? You know, there's cats that are much nicer and much easier to get along with. So, I mean, there's something about a feral cat that called to you.
Yeah, well, they don't have anybody, and for a while, I had other indoor pets that would not get along with house cats because the house cats would eat them. But I don't have any of those pets now, and you initially you feel bad for them, and eventually you form relationships with them, and and this cat now jumps up to my second floor window and calls me, and it's not even hungry. It just wants me to come out and hang out with it, which is kind of cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Can you hold them or pet them or no?
I can pet one of them now. I can
Oh,
pet
that's
the
good.
other one when dinner's on the table, so to speak. And I can hold one for about 40 seconds before it realizes what the fuck you doing. But besides that, besides that, but just me, like animal control was kind of all like, this is what we'll do. I will come and feed. I said, no, you won't. I said, it runs from every other person but me. If we want to do a catch here, this is how it's going to have to be. But, animal control is the police, and the police don't like to listen to mere civilians like me, especially with 10 years experience with cats. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've had experience with non-feral cats, correct?
correct. And I've had
Yeah.
experience with non-feral police too.
So, so
Yeah.
what are the main differences between a non-feral cat and a feral cat in your experience?
You talking about personality wise or just the general overview?
General, yeah, in general.
Generally, a feral cat has never had a home, does not, if you bring them into your house, it will freak out, does not like to be contained. They're very much on survival mode at all times. And they're very, very, just observing them, they're very, very smart with it. There's like everything they do has a purpose, and that purpose is survival. Now, your basic house cat's nice and sweet, they're companions, but like, they really kind of can take you or leave you a lot of the times because they're cats.
Mm.
But like feral cats, they know like I am key to their survival. And it doesn't mean like it's not a big ego trip for me. It's just the intelligence of the cats. These cats
Mm-hmm.
don't go to, they know the sound of my car. They know when I'm home. They know both sides. Like I'm in a condo complex. They know both of my doors,
Mm.
so everything has a purpose. And I did have a cats when I grew up, and I do, I enjoy cats, and they don't have to just be feral cats. I don't want to give, your cat a bad name, but
Yeah. Yeah. Because we know she's listening right now, taking notes or something.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I
but,
know the other cats that I'm disparaging, they're gonna miss their litter box tonight, just
oh, yeah.
slightly.
Right. Right. I know I used to work in the early part of the century. I worked at the Chestnut Hill Mall, Tim, and there were feral cats in that area. And one night we were leaving, and one of my employees, I said, I'm going to get one of those. And he tried to get one, and it took a nutty everywhere. And it just wasn't a good situation after that. So yeah,
Yeah.
you don't, unless you know what you're doing, you really don't want to, try to handle them.
And the
'Cause
and the
they're
pharaohs
not,
all have a pecking order. Like
yeah.
the main one now that's socialized and well fed, like she was like fourth on the pecking order. So before the other three were housed, she had a tough time getting food. I really had to figure that out for her.
Oh,
But
yeah.
a lot of towns have feeding stations and things like that, and
Yeah.
they have clipped ears. They cut their ears because they were caught and released, and they were like neutered, or basically they were fixed. So I
Yeah.
mean, towns are very well aware of this.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we are talking today with Tim Gager. And Tim, you nearly failed out of college, but while you were doing it, you ran a gambling pool and you dealt drugs. So,
I think
I
they're
could
all
not
connected.
resist having that as one of the topics. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think they're all connected. I mean, I'm very, very open with my substance abuse issues and my recovery. So, like when I was in college, I first semester, that's all I wanted to drink was all I wanted to do was drink and use. Like that's
Mm.
sort of I even picked my school because of it. And it got really yeah, it got really, really unmanageable almost immediately, and I was missing classes. And the university put me on every academic probation there was, every special probation, and I'm just lucky to be where I am right now. I
Mm.
obviously I did graduate college. I did. I guess the other 7 semesters, my GPA was 3.3. So I was able to learn my lesson. And I was also able to learn my lesson around the betting pool because, a buddy of mine, Dan Buffington, who was, he had picked 10 teams and 9 of them have won. And I really didn't have the $5,000 to give him if his Monday Night Football team won. So my bags were packed. I was like, but his team lost, and I was like, that's a close call. I'm gonna kind of cut out. I'm out of the point spread business.
Yeah. Mm.
So did you? You mentioned Monday Night Football. Were there other sports that you bet on, like horse racing, boxing, stuff of that nature?
Me personally, a little bit. I never really was big on gambling myself. Like that was it. But I saw running a pool was a way to get a little extra money in college. So I was like, I'd get the New York Times like on Thursday, and they had all the point spreads. This is pre-internet days, and I would kind of adjust them based on my personal knowledge. And no one ever beat me. No, I didn't have to pay one penny to anybody, and every week it was like $20 to $50 in my pocket. It was kind of sweet until it wasn't, until it was scary.
Yeah. A mob. So did you deal on campus or deal outside or deal?
Oh, I walked around campus and I wasn't necessarily a known commodity. Like I had to pitch it to people. I'd be like, hey, $1, you can pick 3 teams, you win $7. And
I meant the drugs part too.
I was more, yeah. On campus, off campus, people would come in people would come into my place, and mostly it was to fund my own recreational use at the time.
Okay. Right.
Because I wasn't a very successful dealer because I would deal things that I enjoyed. So I'd be
You were a user of the products, right?
Yeah, I'd be smoking and snorting the profits away. Like
I made sure this is good for our customer base, so let me try this for you.
Exactly, test. And it's and I had no willpower, if I had product, just be on my dining room table, in a pile, and then I'd be like, well, it's like me today with a bag full of $100,000 bars. I can just have one, right? I can just have one fun-sized bag of M&Ms, and soon the whole damn large bag is gone. And that's exactly the way it was with me with nearly everything.
Right.
And they don't make fun-sized candy anymore. They make minis, and minis are about the size of your tooth, and they're not fun at all. So it's good that they don't call it fun size.
No, because then you just have to eat even more.
Exactly.
So it's
I've always thought that was funny advertisement. It's fun size. I'm like, what is fun about it? Well, it's targeted to kids.
Before fun size, they had the big bars. I remember that.
I mean, what would be more fun to get more, pay less? That would be fun.
Yeah, if you really want to know what the fun size is, hang out on Halloween. All the kids know which houses give away the big bars.
Of course.
The fun indicator.
Yeah, even if they even give big bars anymore.
But, there's always somebody in some neighborhood. It's kind of like, it's they've got the boat, they've got the nice cars, and they have the big bars for Halloween.
Yeah.
Because big bars, you've got a lot of money. Big bars for them are like fun size for the rest of us.
Yeah, that's true. True. So we have in my town, we have. I don't know if they were a chain. I don't know if the location still exists, but there was a sub shop called Lena's, Lenas, and the family lived in my town, and they would give out sub sandwiches for Halloween if you hiked over to their house. So
that's pretty cool.
Even better.
Yeah,
that's even better. Yeah.
Now, did they have famous roast beef? Because I'm trying to find the most famous roast beef because there's so many famous ones.
No, they didn't have a famous roast beef. They do have roast beef sandwiches, and one of their daughters, who I graduated high school with, they still have a location in my town, but I think some of the other ones are gone. If because there used to be a smaller chain.
Yeah, there used to be a Lena's on Route 9, and it was Lena's Famous, and then I think Subway took
Yeah,
them over. So.
yeah. I think eventually I think there was a few in Florida when the father moved down there, but I don't know if they all still exist. But there is still one in my town. So, but I don't think they give out free subs for Halloween anymore.
I mean, listen,
So,
kids, you got the internet. Do a Google search.
yeah,
The sub
yeah,
will be yours. You
Yeah,
yeah,
got
that would be
dress.
yeah,
awesome. Sandwiches instead of candy. Be a lot
yeah.
healthier. I would like to do a podcast on the most unusual things you have ever received while trick-or-treating. That'd be interesting.
Toothbrush.
Mm, yeah, toothbrush,
Just
pennies,
yeah, I got pennies. Yeah, yeah. Only
and
because
raisins
the
probably.
person I disturbed was caught, unaware. Oh, I didn't know it was Halloween. Here's a bunch of
Yeah, yeah.
pennies. Get away here, kid. Um, all right, moving on. 'Cause that got me really hungry. We gotta stop talking about sandwiches.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
yeah. See how you Lee. Um,
Bad news is they were unwrapped sandwiches. They just threw them at the bottom of the Halloween bag.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just
yeah.
I don't
lettuce.
remember.
There's
Get
lettuce
mixed up
everywhere.
with your candy
Yeah,
corn. Ugh.
yeah.
Um, so Timothy, you had a near-death experience. If you would please share with us that
Oh my Lord,
experience.
I can share this one for like hours and hours. So, to do the short version,
Yes.
and the short version is kind of um
The fun size
the
version.
fun size version of my near death
Yeah.
experience. Like this year for Halloween, I'm giving away near death experiences. So anyway, so I had a situation that I realized that I had died, and I was looking down upon myself. And at that moment, I was not in. It's so hard to describe because there are no real words to it. So I'm gonna do my best to say that like I was not in a human form. I was in the form of my soul. And I was just absorbing everything. I was absorbing all information on earth, like everything that was possible to learn here, every sound, every language, every theory. I just absorbed it like that in a second. And I had it all. I had all the knowledge in the world because, I think that's our souls are just so held back by our physical forms, whether it's like what we can actually hear or see or smell or experience. Because there are things out there that the human body cannot experience, and they still exist. And very simplistic terms like dog whistles are a good example. The
Mm.
sound exists, dogs can hear it, but we can't hear it because we're human. So that's kind of that way with all of our senses. And the other thing that I knew was that to accept this completely, that I had to be shown a path to my final destination that I would accept. So if I was to accept that I'm walking through a tunnel of light, that was what was given to me. If I accepted that I would fly through the air like an angel, that's what was given to me. And so I was given this option in a way that I understood it, but I also was given an option to not die. I was given this option to be like, I can return back to my body, which was an option because my body was in good shape. It wasn't mangled or ravaged internally at all. And the second I had the thought of, I've not really lived a lot in, I was like 17, like, I haven't really experienced that much to live. And my body's in good shape. I can return to it. And the second that all came together for me, I was basically zapped back into my body, and all the people that were kind of surrounding me, I was now looking up at them. I was looking up at their concerned faces. And that was like it was just really, really life changing. And I don't debate it with people whether it exists or not. I know for me that's just my experience. And if people have other experiences, or people like, their deaths will be presented to them in a different way, in a way that they can accept moving on to the next place. So I know there's a next place. And for the longest time, I was like, I'm not scared of death. I know what the next place is. Like, this is cool. But then it's funny, it's very recently, as I get older in life, I'm kind of like, I'm really not ready to go.
So,
Yeah.
so you didn't really mention, and feel free, not to share with us, what led to your near-death experience? An accident?
Yeah, it was an accident, and
Okay.
it was not intended at all. And
Okay.
it was I God, the looks on the people's faces that were so I'll never forget those looks.
Mm,
You never forget those looks. It's not looks of sorrow. Like in life you experience things. There are certain looks, like at a wake or funeral, there are certain looks that you see.
yeah.
Or like a mob, like a mob event. There's certain looks that you see on people's faces that are very
Mm,
generalized.
yeah.
But like, the looks, I've never experienced looks like that before or since. Like the
Mm,
scene of an accident, the scene of a violent crime. There are different looks that are on people's faces. I've never ever experienced like those looks from humans, and hopefully I never will again.
mm,
And you said that you were given the decision. Um, did they come? Where did the decision come from? Like an entity, or it was just a thought that was already in your consciousness that
Yeah, it's interesting because you're bringing the human form. The word decision is like such a human word. It was something that I just absorbed, and I also want to make sure I'm really careful to say, like, if you've lost a loved one and like they didn't return to you, like
mm,
that has nothing to do. Like basically, there's various forms of the human physical self that you can't return to.
yeah.
Like, and like it's just the way it is. You can't sustain, the body can't sustain life, and I was lucky that I was able to return because I was returned to a body that could sustain life and could sustain my life.
Mm, yeah. Did now when you were 17 when you said you mentioned, did people believe you? What did your friends say, or was this something that you
I didn't
discussed?
talk about it.
Okay.
I didn't talk about it, and I had trouble talking about it at all. It's like one of those situations to be like,
Yeah.
people are going to think I'm crazy. I don't know if anyone has this shared experience. There must be people out
Mm,
there have heard about it. And then I went to
yeah.
a near death experience group, the Boston NDE group, and I just was like blown away. Like I was kind of like I just immediately felt at home. Like these
Right.
people had the
Right.
same went through the same things that I did. So like I don't feel like you can also go through denial too. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that didn't really happen to me, or maybe it's the electronic brain waves were still firing, or maybe it was a
Mm,
dream and you were in a dream, like all these things about receiving all the knowledge. Maybe that's just was a dream, and a dreams but it certainly didn't feel like a dream.
yeah.
Like dreams feel a certain way, and so meeting other people that have shared this, and whether maybe they all had the same quote dream, but it just
Mm,
was like it was nice to have that universality to that subject, which was kind of scary to talk about. I mean, I love to talk
yeah.
about it now. I mean, I think that we've reached a little bit more acceptance about it, but of course, in general in society, we've reached a whole lot more acceptance about crazy in general, like crazy
Yeah.
theories,
Yeah.
crazy facts,
Yeah.
and you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
Now,
just
I
my experience, and it's
yeah.
people can have their own experiences. They can have their own debates. I'm not going to debate myself about it anymore.
Yeah. Now I know our late great friend Blaine Hebel said he had one, and he wrote about it. Did you have you written about it?
It's appeared in a few poems, and it's appeared in a few of short stories, and
Mm,
it's something you can't put into words. Words are so
right. Right.
physical and human, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's I can describe it, and I can describe the spirituality around it, and I can describe, like, I can tell you that I acquired all the knowledge of this earth in a split second, but I can't tell you how that felt.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Wow. Like you said, we could talk about this all day. It's just, yeah, it is fascinating. But Tim, you are the guy to go to for useless information that comes up in conversation. So regale us with some useless information and why you are the guy, the go-to guy.
Because I've already done so. I give you the history of fun-sized candy bars and minis, right? So I think it's part of my makeup, part of my diagnosis. Like I hang on to trivial matters and trivial facts. And if someone tells me like a really interesting story, I can hold on to that forever. Right. My friend Noah just told me about the fluorescent green boots on Mount Everest. And I was like, that's a kind of a trivial fact that most people don't know about. But like they were in a frozen dead human, and they marked the trail for people going up to Everest. And finally, I guess they decided it was too macabre, so they after 40 years they removed the body wearing those green books, and then people started getting lost on Everest. But so stuff like that, they come up in conversation, and sometimes I mean I've had some recent diagnosis that I am like spectrum like. So in terms of turn taking conversation, like if some of these trivial facts pop into my head, like I will ruthlessly and rudely, as perceived as rude, jump in with a trivial fact that might take away from the conversation that the two other people are having. But for example, someone's talking about mountain climbing with their friend, and I'm popping in about fluorescent green boots and Everest. It's not always wanted, but I I can't talk about writing, so I won't. But there's a piece in one of my writings that it's all like it's a whole novel that's sort of around 70s television trivial matters, and I think it's stuff that it's trivial matters and useless information is stuff that's really safe to talk about, and it's fascinating to a lot of people. So I think that my lack of give and take in conversation, or my inability to have really strong, meaningful conversations, is I'm able to have conversations that are more entertaining and unique.
Do you watch Jeopardy?
I used to watch a lot of Jeopardy, and I used to be pretty good at it. I've had auditioned for Jeopardy in New York. I didn't make it, but this was years ago. I had two auditions. There was this sports trivia game called, I don't know, it was a Beat the Murph. It was an ESPN show, Beat the Blob or whatever it was. And I auditioned for that show the same day that I auditioned for Jeopardy, and I didn't get either. But
yeah, because I watch Jeopardy. I'm not really the useless information guy, but I do enjoy trivia, and I watch Jeopardy. And everybody says, why don't you audition? And I could never be on it because I answer the question before they finish telling it. So it's not something.
So in other words, Lee cheats. You're a cheater, Lee.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would be hitting the button and I'd be locked out, so I wouldn't be able to. Yeah.
I mean, I think my trivial and useless information kind of started around sports, and I was a big sports addict when I was a kid. And I did numbers and batting average. I just had them in my head, and I used to call in these radio station sports trivia contests, and I'd win the prizes. And finally, they were like, you know what, you gotta not call in for 6 months. Give some other people a chance.
Only if they had.
And then I got into music, and it's the same memory thing. Like, who was the drummers, and what bands did these drummers play with, and how did how did Queen form, and how did Jagger meet Keith Richards, and all this stuff that most people don't even think about. But if I find something interesting in my world, I'm just absorbing it.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Do you think you have, what is it, a photographic memory? I think that's what they call it.
No, not at all. I have.
Okay.
I think I just have the ability to retain certain types of
Uh,
information. I'm really,
yeah.
really bad at names and faces. I'm good with
Mm.
numbers but not as good since cell phones. Like I used to be able to memorize phone numbers pretty easily,
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think
but
that's
not
happened to
since cell
everybody.
phones. So things like that, I'm really, really good at, and I think there's a very friendly place in my short-term and long-term memory for those things. But
Mm.
like other things, and I've also noticed as I get older, some of the stuff I'm Googling a lot more because I know like all this stuff's on the tip of my all this useless
Yeah,
information on the tip of my tongue. Like I'm already like, wasn't he in this movie as well? And I just can't remember that movie that they used to
Mm-hmm.
play.
yeah, yeah.
So I'd be
That
like,
happens to me. That
yeah.
happens to me. I worked in the music industry, and and now I find myself Googling because I can't remember the name of a band, that I'm trying to tell somebody about.
Gentlemen, it's called
Yeah,
getting old. That's what it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Gen X
Uh,
has reached that.
Yeah.
yeah. You kind of hinted at this just a bit ago. So um, I forgot your name. Timothy. What did I say? We're all getting old.
All
Timothy.
getting old. The name is Timothy. What
Yeah,
kind of things
Timothy.
do
Yeah,
you remember, James? Do you remember names?
yeah.
You are a Stratomatic geek. Stratomatic geek. Quickly give us a rundown on what that is, and then tell us why, if you would please, why you're such
Yeah.
a geek.
Those.
This might be more difficult to explain than a near-death experience. So the easiest way. So when I was a kid, I used to play the board game, and the board game was every player that was for a certain baseball and hockey and
Mm,
basketball, and you'd get the player cards, and they had various outcomes, and the outcomes weren't actual outcomes; they were computer generated outcomes, and you'd roll a dice, and there's fielding ratings and throwing ratings and running ratings. Basically, for non-stratomatic folks get it.
mm.
Non-stratomatic folks, the easiest way to explain it is like it's Dungeons and Dragons for sports,
Exactly. Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
And so during the pandemic, I started picking up Stratomatic again because there was a great computer version of it. So I didn't need the
Mm,
dice, I didn't need the paper. The games would play in 15 minutes instead of an hour. And
mm.
I met a great group of guys that I've played 18 seasons with. And but it does affect my sleep because the computer rolls out the games after usually between 10:30 and midnight, and I just can't
Oh,
get to sleep until I've experienced my games and looked at the box scores
Right.
and things like that. So yeah, like I definitely geek out on Stratomatic, and it's kind of a fond childhood memory, like come back to life, and like again, all these guys and gals that play the game with me across the country. I've met a bunch of them, like when they come to town, and it's like we have our own little geekdom, our own little club, and like we we can talk for hours about certain stadium advantages and
Mm.
you know but don't bring up with my guys. We played one season with only left-handed pitchers and left-handed batters, and that's a subject to never talk about ever again.
did
Okay.
you
Yeah.
remember the game? It's slightly related, but it had a spinner, and you would put the person card, which was it was round. It was a round card, and you would slide it inside the plastic sleeve, and then you would spin the spinner, and on the card it would have like like good lord, I can't. It had like how big of a space if the person hit a home run, a
It's
double.
very similar to that, except no spinner. So I think that
Yeah,
one is the Major League Players Association game. Yeah, I always like games with spinners, but
yeah.
spinners
That was like
wear out.
1980. I forget what it was called, what brand it was called, but that was fun. Um, I certainly wore my finger out doing the old spinner there on a Sunday afternoon with my dad playing that game. It was really cool because, I mean, obviously I would much rather be outside playing baseball, but there was
Mm.
something really, I don't know, just I don't know, it was just something kind of cool about playing the old spinner game, just like spin, and
And managing against like your brother or your dad or your best
yeah,
friend. And like, we used to bring these cards into school, like middle school and high school, and like,
yeah.
the history class. And like, my friend Rob is playing Stratomatic in his notebook, and
Right,
but with
right.
spinners, dice, it's a lot harder to cheat with like 20-sided dice and the 3-player dice than it is with a spinner. You turn your back and some dude stopping the spinner on some good results.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Well, I don't.
are. We
Go
have one
ahead.
more thing. Lee?
No. I was gonna say I never played it, but I believe my brothers did. But my brother played the. He had the tabletop hockey game with the little
Yeah.
metal men you'd put in, and
Mm-hmm.
he actually went nuts and he painted all the uniforms on all the teams, and yeah, and that was
Yeah, I had that
hours
one
of fun
too.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't get me started on that game, the electric football game where
We didn't have
vibrate,
that.
and
See, that one was always such a disappointment
it
because
was.
Yeah.
you design these plays that would take you 15 minutes to set up electrical, and you would turn on the button, and it just would bounce off the field.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
didn't have
come on.
that one.
It's like the manufacturers, didn't they realize that this was going to happen to all these kids when they're going to put these on the shelves? I mean, come
Yeah,
on. Every single time,
yeah,
all the players went in circles. It's just
yeah,
And
crazy.
I would love like they were like frozen in position. Like
Yeah.
the
yeah,
button like this. And
Yeah, it was and
linebackers
it's
were
like a
like
piece of pant lint that
they'd be
served as
like
the
they'd be
football.
spinning around like
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and
And
then
all the
based
hockey
on
games.
just trying to profit off the success of electric football, there was an electric baseball, which I don't even know how it worked. It had like
Oh, wow.
like you would drop the marble ball down a ramp, and then there'd be a spring-loaded bat, and then you release the kraken, you release the player,
Oh,
electric player, to run the bases, but
Yeah,
he just would run in the circle, so it didn't
I
matter.
seem to remember that one. I never had it, but I might have
yeah.
played it. But yeah.
Well,
But
we're certainly going down memory lane
oh
with
my
Timothy
God.
Gager here. All right, so let's get on to our final segment here. If I can find my.
Would you rather?
There we go. Would you rather? And this is the part where we have Lee Eric Freedman ask our guest a string question. I'll let Lee explain
All
um,
right.
his method of
So
madness.
yeah. So there's no madness today. Um.
What? What?
So Tim, when James first pitched me this concept of this show and asked me to be the co-host, he emailed me this gargantuan list of just it's got to be at least 600 would you rather questions on it, and if not more, because some of them aren't numbered. And generally, what I do is I pick 3 based on your topics or your bio. But today I could not find anything based on your topics, or I just wasn't having a good day when I was. So I just picked 3 random ones, and
Okay.
they were all sort of like useless information ones. But this one, number 308, actually sort of refers to when you were talking earlier about your senses, and how like dogs have better senses than we do. So, and this is perfect. So, Tim, would you rather have the olfactory senses of a dog or see more colors in the electromagnetic spectrum, which is similar to a mantis shrimp? And I can repeat that if you'd like.
Yeah, repeat it because I'm trying to figure out, would I actually become the dog? That's the side.
Well, would you rather have the olfactory senses of a dog or see in the electromagnetic spectrum like a mantis shrimp? And I believe a bee as well sees in the different spectrums.
Yeah.
What the hell is a mantis?
I definitely think I think the dog. I think seeing the spectrum and more. I think that would kind of freak me out. Like
Right. Okay.
I think it's easy. It's more relatable to do the dog thing, and I hopefully I'd get to be the dog and like have a really kind owner and
Right.
lie around, go for walks. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm still trying to figure what the hell is a mantis shrimp? What?
Well, you know what a shrimp is? It's just a species of shrimp, a mantis.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
I
just
don't
never
know.
heard
You
of it.
got the questions, James. Where did you
Oh,
find them?
well, I just download. I didn't take the
Okay.
time to understand any of the questions.
Oh, all right. Because some
I
of them
left.
actually you have
Yeah.
explanations on. I don't know if you have one
Yeah.
on that one. I have to
Is
go
that
back and look at it.
mantis mantis shrimp?
Yes,
like a
yes, yes.
praying mantis.
Like a praying mantis. Yes.
Ah, okay, mantis. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. No, I
James,
never knew
would you like
that.
to pray for a different question?
I can give you another. Yeah, I have two more if you want to answer a third. You'll probably be the first person you're the first guest to answer two if you want.
Sure.
Want
Wow.
to.
So the mantis shrimp. Here's
Yeah.
useless information I'm going to retain.
Oh God, here we go.
Oh, God.
It has the most sophisticated vision and fastest strike of any predator on Earth.
Whoa.
Hmm. Wow.
There we are.
Okay.
Wow. Hmm.
See, I would think like an octopus or a chameleon would have like faster strikes, but that's a new one for me.
Mantis shrimp. There we go.
Yeah. Because chameleons, you see their tongues just whip out. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
Yeah,
like
there we go.
makes me want to go to legal seafood tonight.
Oh. Well, that's good. I don't know if they have
Thank you for being on the show. It's been a blast, and Lee, thank you for helping me co-host these shows. We're
You're welcome.
31 into it now. We're 31 episodes.
Yeah, 31.
Yeah, so
31.
it's been a blast. So Timothy, thank you again for being a part of the show
Thank you,
today.
James.
And
Thanks, Tim.
we want to invite you guys out there. If you want to be on the show, send us a message, either Lee or myself, on Facebook. Till then, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time.